So the 2026 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominees just dropped the other day. And should these names all be in the same building? We got the Black Crowes, they're rock. Jeff Buckley for sure. Phil Collins, he's soft rock and he's rock, but he's soft rock. Mariah Carey is R&B, and damn, she can sing, but she's R&B. Melissa Etheridge is kind of in between. She's rocky. Lauryn Hill is R&B and in the vibe. Billy Idol, that's rock. So you look at this list, and you look at what Gene Simmons, he's been saying for ages that hip-hop doesn't belong in the Rock and Roll Music Hall of Fame. And Gene Simmons is known for putting his foot in his mouth, and rightfully so, but this time I kind of think he's right.
Hip-hop does not belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, nor does opera, symphony orchestras. How come the New York Philharmonic doesn't get the Rock and Roll?
Right.
Because it's called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But he shot back and said, no, it's the spirit of rock and roll. Okay, fine. So Ice Cube and Grandmaster Flash and all these guys are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I just want to know when Led Zeppelin's going to be in the Hip-Hop Hall of Fame.
See, yeah, like, obviously not going to happen. It's kind of like a German car museum adding Toyotas. I mean, they're great cars. They're innovative. They have massive sales, but they're not German-engineered cars. Hip-hop's really cool, but it's not rock and roll. So, yeah, when you look back at these 17 nominees, you have a blend of genres here. Shakira was technically Latin rock at the beginning, and now she's obviously pop. Luther Vandross, like, these are R&B, New Edition. These are R&B pop artists. Wu-Tang Clan. Oh yeah, man, they're hard rock. So if you look at what rock and roll was, it's the fusion of blues, R&B, gospel into a guitar rebellion. It is driven with loud vocals and ripping guitars. Hip-hop branched off separately. Monotone chanting vocals. Very cool. Very awesome. In the 1970s, in the Bronx, they did their own thing. And they created this whole other path. So, if you look at the definition of rock and roll, you find that the word roll has its own specific meaning. And Chuck D tried to define it incorrectly. Let's look at what he says, because he fired back at Gene Simmons, and this is what Chuck D said.
But what he fails to realize is that it's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And everything else other than rock, when rock and roll splintered in the 60s, is the roll. And soul music, reggae, hip-hop, which is rap music,
What?
you know, because hip-hop is a culture.
Right?
So it embodies, you know, sight, sound, story, and style.
That's the
But
roll?
music.
That's the roll? That's the roll? Rock and roll. The phrase rocking and rolling originally described the movement of a ship on the ocean, but by the early 20th century was used to both describe the spiritual fervor of black church rituals and as a sexual analogy. So, rock and roll, William Fender can be heard singing the phrase rock and roll when describing a sexual encounter in his performance of the traditional song The Baffled Knight, blah, 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 blah. So, roll in the rock and roll is sort of a euphemism for like a sexy dance or getting down to the business, if you know what I'm saying. So it's not a literal split between rock and everything else. Chuck D is just reinterpreting it in his own way to fit his agenda. So it's really cool that R&B and hip-hop did their own thing. And for that reason, they should be included in a Hall of Fame, but it shouldn't be called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We should rename it to the Popular Music Hall of Fame or the Pop Music Hall of Fame. And it's almost kind of disrespectful to hip-hop to put it in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You're the same, you're just like us, whatever, you didn't do your own thing, you're just rock and roll. You know, just put it together with that. No, they could have a Hip-Hop Music Hall of Fame and a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but why not just put all the artists in one place, the most honorable place, together, and just rename the damn thing? Well, they don't want to. Rock and Roll Hall Chairman rules out name change, says new categories could be added in the future. And they're calling it a gumbo. My last words as I pleaded for Jay to come to Cleveland to accept his award were that rock and roll is not any one sound, rather it's a gumbo, he wrote, to paraphrase Berry Gordy. Missy Elliott calls it, it was a gumbo. It just became known as rock and roll. So when I hear people say you should just change it to the Music Hall of Fame, rock and roll has pretty much covered all of that territory. Yeah, if you want to just lump everything together and just lose the quality of the specific classifications of each genre. And if you want to do that, call it Popular Music Hall of Fame. Then we have honest branding. We have no debates. Purists get their rock respected. Hip-hop gets full credit without being shoehorned into something that it isn't. So, should we induct these 17 nominees into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Yes, but we shouldn't call it that. They're all legendary artists. But Gene is correct. Hip-hop does not equal rock and roll. This 2026 list proves it. So just rename the damn place. The Popular Music Hall of Fame, the Pop Music Hall of Fame, the Whatever Everything Gumbo Hall of Fame. I'll be back.